Larry Sharpe here at FreedomFest, having so many great conversations, talking about values and ethics and principles. It's amazing. I'm very lucky today. I have with me Jeff Hewitt. He is the chairman of the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. Please tell me about yourself.
Thank you, Larry. Yes, look, I'm a guy that has been pretty much a ditch digger all my life. You know,
Okay.
I've dug a lot of holes in the ground. I've dug thousands of swimming pools in people's backyards. And my body wore out like you would think it would, because
Right.
I'm really old. And
Okay.
so somehow somebody pushed me into politics. And where I found out, as a libertarian, we can get elected with a little bit of luck, a great campaign team, and asking a lot of people for a lot of money.
I like that.
And you know, once I accomplished all those three things, I found myself actually in a very, very high office. I mean, Riverside County has 2.5 million people.
A lot of people.
Oh yeah, and just in my district, there's, you know, the size of Wyoming, 500,000 people. And then we've got 25,000 employees, and we have around a $7 billion annual budget.
Wow, that's a lot.
So
Good for you.
Oh, listen, my knowledge of acronyms, you know,
Sure.
you got to be careful because there's so many acronyms. You know, if you get the BLM wrong, you know, Black Lives Matters or the Bureau of Land Management,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't mix those up,
That's
or you
true.
get in big trouble.
You're going to get
you
in
know?
trouble, absolutely. That's
So-
great. I'm glad you're here. You're going to have a lot of insight because you have been doing this. You've been a mayor. You've been doing this and been part of government. So you're
Right.
going to have a lot of good insight here. I want to talk about the problem that we're having now, which is most people talking about their values.
Right.
Most people will lean left or lean right or progressive or conservative, but that isn't my big issue. We can still talk and have communication. My issue is not the values, but the ethics. Meaning, okay, I want to be more conservative or I want to be more progressive, but when is it okay to use coercion? When is it okay to use government? When is it okay to make that step to say, I want my way, but not persuasion, coercion is the right answer? I'm going to chat more about that, and I'm sure you've seen it a whole lot. I think you'd agree that most people, I'm sure your constituents, want to be happy.
They do want to be happy, and you know, the happiness index, what I call, is greatly reduced when other people use a lot of coercion against you. Now, unfortunately, our government now exists on the basis of a lot of coercion.
Yep.
You know, we think we live in a totally free society, and in some respects, compared to a lot of other countries in the world, we do.
Right.
Comparatively speaking.
Correct, right.
However, when you talk about with all the different laws, and like I say, we have so many laws in this nation. I mean, even lawyers, unless they're specifically in that area of law, they don't know all the laws.
They can't get it, absolutely,
And so
yes.
I think a really brilliant man one time said, and maybe it was Pee Wee Herman or something, I don't know. But
He was pretty brilliant.
But one time somebody said, if you got too many laws for a rational individual to even know what's right or wrong, then you probably got too many laws.
Right.
And that gets us back to ethics, morality, social conscience.
Sure.
And what I like is that there is actually one organization that I know of that really pushes this home. And for libertarians, sometimes we're just, hey, leave me alone.
Right.
Don't tread on me.
Yep.
And I believe Jeffrey Tucker called those brutalists. And that's fine. They have that right. But I consider myself a humanist because I want my neighbor to like me.
So you're more like don't tread on anybody.
Well, it's like, first of all, we don't live in little silos.
Sure.
We're going to pass everybody up on the freeway. We have to live, sometimes we get together, and we have communities.
Sure.
We have societies. And societies only work when there's two different ways they work. Either by tyranny or coercion, or when actually people respect each other.
You've hit the word that I want to bring up because I think that if I could simplify it, the average person be happy, a couple things has to be true. One of those is, if I use violence against you, I harm you or hurt you, you're going to be less happy, right?
I'm going to be a lot less happy, and I'll probably have a high hospital bill too, which will
Exactly.
even, yeah, right.
Make it even
right.
worse. Yes. And the second piece is, if I somehow either vandalize or destroy your property through either theft or fraud, you're going to be unhappy. Absolutely, right?
I'm going to be very mad.
But the question is now, with you and I, we get that. We believe it. Do you think most people believe that if they want to be happy, you have to not take their stuff and not hurt them? Is that universal?
I think deep down inside, that is the very thing that allows humans to build great societies.
There we go.
I really do. And I think that with everything, the predominance of media, pushing fear, pushing differences. We see cable TVs with these two sides that hate each other now.
Right.
And instead of coming together on things that we can agree on, which are a lot of things that we can agree on, making those relationships first. It is so important, whether it's your neighbor or some stranger you meet on the street and maybe pass. It's building those relationships of trust and respect. And then things lead to, I mean, there's no way I'm going to take your stuff or I'm going to beat you up over some disagreement if I already respect you, if I already know you and I trust you.
So you're talking about that idea of the principle of human respect, that if I don't hurt you and if I don't take your things or hurt your things, that there's going to be more happiness, more prosperity, more harmony.
There's going to be a lot more of that. And you know, we look back in each and every one of our lives and we think about, when did we have a good time? Was it in church camp? Was it in a group where we all came down, we had friends at the beach? All these different things. Have we started businesses with other people and had partners and we've all flourished? All those things had one thing in common. Everybody trusted each other. Everybody respected the fact that as an individual, we all have certain rights that shouldn't be tramped on. Now, whether it is government doing that, or some neighbor, or some stranger doing that, it all has the same result. There's that lowering of the pursuit of happiness. You know, that's that key thing: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life is, we're going to go get enough food to eat, keep us alive, put a roof over our head. And liberty is, you know, hey, I get to run around with the scissors once I'm old enough, and my mother can't, you know, use coercion against me. Which parental rights, that's one of the things making you But the pursuit of happiness is really based upon having that ability to go out and get your own things. You see, and not have to worry about someone taking them or someone.
But let me go one step further. Right? So many people, they would say, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm not doing it, Jeff. See, I'm not taking your stuff. I'm just voting. And 51% of us said that we can take your stuff. I'm not taking it. Some agency is, right? It's the cops, or it's the IRS, or it's the ATF, or insert group here, the sheriff. Someone's going to go take the stuff. But it's not me, Jeff. So it's not really violence. It's not really coercion, because I'm not doing it. I just voted. And we voted, so it's okay.
So we see that all the time. And that is why we are not a democracy, and we shouldn't be a democracy. A pure democracy is ISIS. If I have this group of ISIS people, and we saw Omar over here blaspheme the prophet, and 51% of us say off with his head, we're going to cut his head off.
It's true.
Now that's democracy, and that's democracy in the purest way. I don't think any of us want that to happen, especially Omar.
Omar's like, not at all.
But what our founding fathers did, and now groups like the Foundation for Harmony and Prosperity that are trying to push those fundamental things, that it's not it's a constitutional republic. In other words,
but let me walk down that road. Okay, so let me go. Is there an exception here? For example, all right. Many Republicans in the past, particularly, have said, hey, you know what? We want to make a better society. We care about our society. We want to decide who can and can't get married. Right? These people should, or these people shouldn't. We're going to decide who can get married. When they put this out, they weren't trying to hurt. They were trying to help. They thought it was going to be a good for our society. Is there an exception to this respect rule if it is to make the greater good, to make a better society? Is that okay? We're not lopping off Omar's head. We're making a better society.
Well, it's about time you threw me a hardball. This is what I like to. So, you and I just were over somewhere and we talked about free speech. Okay, so the thing that cures that so many people that wanted to keep two people from being happy that weren't going to affect their lives at all, except maybe they went to their particular church and their church said this is wrong, so we shouldn't allow it. You see, but in reality, if two people of the same sex or whatever want to share and love and grow up together, who are we to keep them from doing that? But we can't have that change, and it did change. 3,000 years of something changed in a relatively short time, which, by the way, the Libertarian Party was a big part of.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm going to tell you, that happened because we have the freedom of speech.
So what you're saying is, even though the intention of a better society might be behind it, still no, human respect is a principle that is still more important than that.
The road to ruin was paved by good intentions. I mean, that applies to a whole lot of things.
So let me make it harder then. That's society.
Yeah.
How about this one? This one's more economics. We decide as a nation, look, our citizens matter. This isn't a Democrat Republican, this is our citizens matter. So any undocumented workers cannot be hired. And if they are hired by a company, the company should be punished by the government, and the government should punish that company because they're hiring these illegal workers and these undocumented workers, because we care about our people, and that's not mean, that's just caring about our people. Is that an exception?
So there's so many issues there. We'll start with this first. We have arbitrarily made borders over history and time that says at this point, everybody on this side is in one country and everybody on this side is in another. When you have immigration, it's funny that right now today, nobody can find any workers. Nobody can find any workers. That we don't have fast food restaurants that even open up their dining areas anymore because they don't have enough workers. But we have tens of thousands of people at the southern border that say, hey, give me a chance to come in. I want to have an opportunity to shine. So there are issues like that say, as a practical matter, maybe we need to let more people in here and become citizens and you know.
But isn't the argument going to be, wait a minute, you don't understand, Jeff. If these jobs are being taken by these, you know, undocumented workers, there are Americans, our people, our tribes, that aren't going to have jobs.
So with that, when you look at it, economically speaking completely, the things that keep those people from getting jobs are not the immigrants that are coming in.
Okay.
They're not. A lot of these jobs that immigrants, whether they come from South America, whether they come from Asia, Eastern Europe, or wherever, those jobs are a lot of times ones that nobody else will take.
But you're talking about a logical economic answer. What if I could show you data? I'm not saying I could, but philosophically, I could show you data, pretend, that shows that no, you're incorrect. That when these undocumented workers take these jobs, more Americans don't work and they go on public assistance. What if I could show you that as data so that your logical argument would be untrue? Would then it be okay to punish the companies?
Well, okay, so I expect that when you have a welfare state.
Yep.
So remember, let's look at the bigger issue here.
Okay.
The government is taking so much of the fruits of the labor of everybody that's in this country, the way they're working, through different levels of taxation, that they create these social programs that grow and grow and grow, and then put people on them and say, oh, we won't work for this much. You create these false levels of, when you take away a job from somebody and give them a check after waiting in line, you take away a lot more than just what shows up. Like,
okay, so hold on.
You take away their dignity.
Let's say there's no welfare state. Again, I'm making this up. Fantasy world.
That's right.
No welfare state. People come over the border, they're undocumented, they start working, and I show you, there's no welfare state. And now the people who don't have jobs, they're struggling. In fact, we know what they're doing? They're working for less, or they're struggling now more than they ever were. So now our own workers are struggling. Would that be okay to punish the businesses then?
No, it's never right for government to come in and punish free enterprise for them, basically practicing the free market. And that's what's,
so you're actually going back, if I get it right, that even though you had a solution, and because you are working, you always want a solution. I know you were giving me solutions.
Right.
And I get it, and that's awesome. I'm asking at a deeper level. And I think we're on the same page here. At a deeper level, the reason why you keep giving me solutions is because you don't want the government to punish the business, because you know that that's against the principle of human respect.
It's a huge hit against human respect.
That's my worry, and that was my point.
Yes.
Is that you kept giving me answers because you did not want to break that principle. So you kept giving me answers saying, see, and I was like, well, what if? Because I think my view is at the bottom, at the center of this is human respect. Am I wrong?
It's all about human respect, and like in my own county, 50% of all the people that live in my county speak Spanish as their native tongue. Now, a lot of them speak English also, but there is some division between cultural things.
Sure.
And remember, when we don't know something about people, we fear them.
Right.
You see, and when you're in the store and you hear somebody speaking in a foreign language, that's almost like I'm whispering to you, you see, and to them.
Right.
And so it's even more important in a society that's going to be free and respectful is people realizing that there's going to be people that come from different parts of the world. They're going to have different cultural bases. And this about human respect and the pursuit of happiness, if we don't universally feel that each individual, each human being on this planet should be entitled to that, and we don't practice it in our own nation, then what kind of shining light are we on that hill?
Totally true. And funny, you brought up something that I usually don't bring up. I often talk about using the basis of the principle of human respect. The idea that if we have human respect for each other, we share that, that we're not going to harm each other, we're not going to take each other's things, and we're going to have more harmony, happiness, and prosperity. That if that's the basis, we can talk to the left and right paradigm more than just I say the one thing and the left says, oh, you're a righty, or the right goes, oh, you're a lefty. But you brought up something else. This includes cultures in the United States. This helps us talk to people who speak Spanish or speak English or who speak Filipino or whatever. This allows us to even cross that. It's amazing.
And it's a political reality too. If you want to change the nature of the political landscape in California, which is extremely progressive left right now.
Sure.
I mean, one party controls the state.
I know
then
the
answer is through Latinos.
Sure.
Because again, they make up about half of all the people in that state. And they're just waiting for somebody to come to them and speak and say, hey, we respect your values, which overwhelmingly are values of family, hard work. Again, they're like any other immigrant group, and we are definitely a nation of immigrants.
Sure.
There's even the Native American tribes came over here thousands of years ago. Maybe they were the original ones or whatever, but everybody that's here, we've brought something to it. And bringing that blood and that desire for the American dream, to have that chance to thrive, is the only thing that's kept us from going completely the way of Rome and every other empire. We're not an empire. We're this beautiful 246-year experiment that has been amazing. And I want to make sure that it survives and gets better, and I think the best times are still ahead. But it has to do with respect, human respect.
Yes.
Things like the Foundation for Harmony and Prosperity bring to the table.
Yes.
If we can get that message out there to more people, get them understanding that when you reach out and shake the hand of that new neighbor, or when you're anywhere, and if somebody comes at you and they're being a jerk, it takes two people to fight. Unless they're coming at you with a hammer, then you have.
But you
defense,
just said something which I love. You just showed me something which I really love. When I was talking about that undocumented worker piece, you kept looking at it and thinking to yourself, how in the world do I still give everybody respect? That was what your core was. And I love that, because in my view, and obviously you agree, it's not necessarily what the outcome is or what the intent is or what it's, how do I keep everybody with respect? And I measure it against that first, then I decide the rest. It's amazing. I appreciate it. Jeff, thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Good seeing you.
All right.
Thanks.